Good morning. So we have chapter 10 of Toby. I feel like I haven't been on here forever. 3-day weekends are long. And we have another one coming up Friday. So I'm going to read to you chapter 10. After breakfast, I wandered into the room with all the couches and took another nap, this time with Dorothy. When I woke up, she had found the little ball again. So we went outside for some throwing. Once we were done with that, I went back inside and greeted all my friends. Some of them had treats for me, but when I got to Granddad's room, I found something better than treats. Chicken. He was sitting at a small table by the window eating some chicken from a plate. I was so happy to see him, and his chicken, too. I sat right at his feet, waiting for him to drop a bite down to me. I was pretty sure he was getting ready to do it when Tyler walked in. He was walking a bit slowly, as if his legs were tired. I wagged to show him that I liked him, and I was happy he was there. But I needed to stay focused on this chicken for the moment. I was sure he would understand. Toby? I heard Mona call from the hallway. I wagged for her, too. But I stayed still, watching the fork move from Granddad's plate to his lips. Toby's in here, I heard Tyler call, but he's a little busy right now. Mona came in. She laughed when she saw me, raising my head when Granddad lifted his fork, lowering it when the fork returned to the plate. He knows what's important, Granddad said. Well, I guess he's got a right to be hungry. He ran a couple miles this morning. Mona and Granddad both looked at him in surprise. With the cross-country club, Tyler explained. I figured I should tell you. He snuck out under a hole in the fence this morning, and yesterday, too. He ran with us. He loved it. I bet he did. Mona's smile was big. So that's where he really was this morning. I called and I called. I was getting worried. Wait, you're on a cross-country team? Tyler shook his head. No way. Not a real team. Just a club for the summer. My mom rented an apartment here so he can hang out with Granddad more. Here's Toby wanting his chicken. And there's this club of boys who runs every morning. Most of them are on the teams at their school, staying in shape for track, But they said I could tag along. It's great. Really fun. There was something about his voice that sounded odd to my ears. I knew that word, fun. But Tyler's voice didn't sound happy. And people were usually happy about fun. It was strange. Almost as strange as the fact that Granddad kept forgetting to give me some chicken. Oh, that's cool. So you're going to be visiting a lot? Every day, Tyler answered her. Well, I'm here every day too, Mona said. So I glanced over at Mona for a moment. Her face was doing that funny thing where it heated up and got darker. Training Toby. We've got to work on his skills, Yeah, I heard. Now Tyler's words and his voice were both sad. As soon as I got some chicken, I'd had to make them both feel better. Mona? I heard Patsy's voice. Oops, sorry, I lost my spot. I heard Patsy's voice from out in the hall. I need you for a minute. Okay, Mom, Mona called back. I'll be back for Toby soon, she said to Granddad and Tyler. He's got to work on lie still. I glanced at her, but it was clearly not a command because she was already hurrying from the room. I stayed because, well, the chicken was here. Tyler sat down on the bed. So, how is it here, now that you're settled in and everything, he asked. Pretty good. No complaints, Granddad said. Now, I liked staying with you and your parents, but it could be a bit dull during the day. Your mom and dad at work, you at school, nobody around. Plenty of company here. Maybe I'll get a girlfriend. At last, he dropped a bite of chicken down for me. I snapped it up. Then he put the fork down. That seemed to mean the chicken was over, but I kept an eye on the plate, just in case. So, what about you? Granddad asked Tyler. That girl Mona, she's pretty great. You like her, huh? Tyler shrugged. A shrug is not an answer, Granddad told him. That's what Mona says, Tyler replied. He flopped down to his back on the bed. Where do you think she got it from? Granddad said. And he and Tyler both laughed a little. So, Mona. Yeah, all right, I like her. She's cool. You're such a nag. I only nag when I'm right. Smart girl like that, pretty too. She's not going to wait around forever. Take some advice from an old man. You need to tell her how you feel. Yeah, okay. Sometime. Tyler lay looking at the ceiling as if he were talking to it instead of Granddad. How's the running? It's a great idea at that club. You'll be beating the pants off the other kids come fall. Maybe, said Tyler softly. Maybe? For sure. Granddad, it's not going so good. I'm slow. Slowest on the team. So what? Tyler picked up his head and stared at Granddad. So what? So I'm not going to win any races, that's what. Granddad snorted. Speed. Cross country isn't a sprinter's game, boy. It's about determination. You can't outrun those boys. Then you beat them with the wind. What does that mean? Granddad twisted his chair so he's looking right at Tyler. They run, you run a little further. Every time. That's what it means. Pretty soon you'll be running so far that a short race will be a breeze. Tyler sighed and let his head fall back on the bed. Yeah, maybe, he answered. Tyler left Granddad's room not long after that, and Mona came back to get me for some more training in the yard. Frankly, it was not very exciting, but things got livelier when the door opened and 3 kids ran out. Patsy was behind them. A puppy! The youngest girl shrieked. She was smaller than Mona, in a white dress that puffed and swirled when she ran. There was a boy, a little older, and both of them, I soon discovered, were very good at chase me. Sorry, Ori just came in. The other kid, who was a little older, sat down on a bench with Patsy. Patsy put her arm around the girl and talked to her gently. Toby, Mona called out a little sternly. I stopped my chasing and looked over at her, puzzled. Why didn't she come and play? It's all right, Mona. Let him run. This is part of Toby's job, too. The 2 kids and I played chase me over the grass and around one of the big trees. Mona watched. So did the girl who was playing with Patsy. Every now and then that girl rubbed a hand over her face. The littlest girl chased me around the tree. I spun away from her. She slipped on a patch of wet earth and fell to her hands and knees. I ran to be sure she still wanted to play and licked her face and chin. She giggled. I tore her off again and she jumped up to follow me with her brother right behind. Mona had found one of the rubber balls and she tossed it to the boy. He threw it as hard as he could, which was not very far. Even Dorothy could get it further. But I pounced on it and brought it back, and the little kids took turns throwing it. I was so glad we'd given up on training for now. This was much better. One of my trips back with the ball, I caught a familiar scent and looked up to see Fran standing in the doorway. Her eyes grew wide as she looked over the group of us playing throw the ball. Then they grew narrow. Toby, no! Bad dog, she said. I was so surprised that I dropped the ball. It bounced on the grass. What was bad about playing? My tail drooped. My ears went down. A new man, one I hadn't seen before, was in the doorway behind Fran. She moved aside to let him on the lawn. The tall girl, the one who'd been sitting with Patsy, ran to him and he hugged her tightly. Fran turned to them and her whole body softened. Her face looked tender. I'd not seen her look like this before. She always looked so impatient when she looked at me. She gently touched the girl's back and put her hand on the man's arm. I remembered my mother, Sadie, and how she curled her body around mine when she sensed I was hurting and needed to be comforted. I'm so sorry for your loss, Fran said to the man. Even her voice was gentle. Well, my mom isn't suffering any more, the man said quietly, with his arms still around the girl. That's what's important. The boy picked up the ball and threw it for me, and I went after it. He didn't throw it far, though, so I could still hear her words. I didn't understand what they meant, but I understood the tone. I'm sorry about your daughter's dress, too. There's mud all over the front. Man shrugged. It's just mud. Doesn't matter at all. I'm so glad they're playing with the little dog, Toby. Toby, right? I heard my name and perked up my ears. Whatever I'd done wrong, it was over. Honestly, Toby was one of the reasons we picked the facility for my mom's last days, the man went on. Look at my kids. He's helping so much. This day would have been so sad for us all without Toby. He's a great dog. My name again! I still had the ball in my mouth, so I ran over to the man, tail wagging. I could feel and smell that he was sad. If he played a little ball, he'd feel better. He reached down and picked the ball up with one arm still around the tall girl, then threw it. So hard, it soared through the air, bounced off the fence, and zigzagged under a bush. I dashed after it, but I could still hear Fran's voice from behind me as I ran. I'm glad you like the dog. Do you want him? Well, that is one way to end a chapter. I don't like the idea of Toby leaving. Let me know how you feel in your chapter review, okay?